Got to always do a little double check. Hopefully we are all doing well here. Let me just slide over to the channel real quick. I think we are. How's the audio? Yeah, it's good. Using Restream. If you've never used Restream, it's pretty awesome. But yeah, so anyway, let's just dive into this here. So my name is Mark Joseph Manti, and this is my YouTube channel here. Well, actually, you're probably watching this on either YouTube, LinkedIn, X, or Facebook. But basically, uh, if you're familiar with the channel, familiar with the content, I have a WordPress web development agency. We do some other digital marketing things as well here. Been learning a lot over the last, I don't know how long it's been. It's been too long at this point. Since 2018, I've had the agency, built a lot of websites, learned a lot of different things. I am actually in a very interesting point now here in the beginning of 2024 because I am basically changing my entire stack and have existing clients and everything like that built on Elementor websites. We're moving to bricks. If you've seen some of the content recently, there's just a lot going on kind of in my neck of the woods as far as like the things that I'm trying to do. And I'm very excited about it. And the other big thing that I want to do too is talk more to the community of WordPress because I've uh, been kind of like consuming a lot of content, but I have a lot of opinions as well as somebody that does this all the time. So I just want to be a part of that conversation a little bit more and put my thoughts out there, which I've done in the past. But one thing specifically is we're here Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern. I want to make this a regular thing, going live, either doing some work, talking about things, answering questions. If we get some people, passing by and wanted to ask some things, I get a lot of questions all the time on the videos that I put out, whether it's for the videos about the client portal or literally anything else that we've talked about on this channel to this point. And really, I just want to continue to provide that value to the other people that are also trying to navigate the interesting space of WordPress currently. So what I'm going to do here is we'll switch over and we will talk about some things and go through some stuff here. So I'll explain what's going on here on the screen and everything like that, and we'll dive into some cool things. So the first is I want to make some disclaimers before we even go any further. And the first one is I am not perfect. So um, live streaming, actually have a lot of experience live streaming, so hopefully that works pretty well. But I'm not perfect on the web development front. I'm not perfect on the business front. I am just trying to navigate everything just like all of you are. So that is something that I am yearning to. I learn, try, and share everything that I do. So as I pick things up and as I feel confident about them, I'd like to try them out. I'd like to experiment with them more, and then I want to share them with all of you fine folks. So that is what my goal is with everything that I do under this MJS personal brand that I am developing here. But I'm not perfect. So if I make mistakes, let me know, and I'm more than happy. I want to put another thing in there. I'm always happy to have discussions, debates, and we'll get into more of this because it blends in some of the agenda items, but like debates and discussions on different types of tools, best practices. I don't know them all, but I do know some, and I know what has worked for me, and what has worked for me may not work for other people, or they might have things that if I implemented would work better for me. I'm happy to have discussion. I'm happy to have debate. Sometimes we might get passionate on certain issues, but overall, I mean, there is just so much going on. I won't dive into it right now because I want to talk about it in the agenda, but I can just talk about the stuff for days because you just consume things, you get these different opinions and have these ideas, and it's really cool. So the next thing is we're going to talk about bricks, and we're going to talk about developing. And I'll again, like I said, I'll show you some of the things that I've gone on, some of the things that I've started to develop here. But I've been using bricks and ACSS, automatic CSS, for 2 weeks. Okay, 2 weeks. So by no means am I perfect in that regard. Absolutely no. Not even close. Okay, I don't even I actually think I'm getting the hang of it rather quickly, but I am absolutely not a bricks and ACSS expert. So just like take everything with a grain of salt. But it is kind of like, it's not necessarily a newer platform, but I do think that there's like a mass kind of like, I don't want to call it an exodus, but there's people out there like Kevin Geary that are doing a great job at like educating people on it. I want to build off of some of that a little bit and give my own perspective on some things. But there's just a lot there and it's way different. I want to talk about it in depth, so I'll get into it. But I've been using it for 2 weeks. I used to use Elementor with my agency since I started. And again, no qualms about Elementor. I made a video recently about how I'm switching to Bricks, obviously. Talked a little bit about Elementor in there. I've used it for 5 years. I'm still going to have to use it for legacy sites, I guess, like clients, legacy clients, but never really had any qualms about Elementor. But it is definitely different. I was going to say inferior. That is really hard to judge and hard to say. And again, we can talk about it more, but that's the context there. I've used that. I have an extensive line of experience with Elementor, but now we're using Bricks. And then last thing is I try to use best practices, but I don't know them all yet. I try to use best practices on like class-based approach in Bricks and, dry development, like don't repeat yourself and BEM classes, like all that stuff. I try to do it. I'm just not 100% efficient and perfect at that yet. So bear with me, do as I try to do, I guess, or say, or I don't know, but yeah, just bear with me, take it with a grain of salt. So we're just learning just alongside you guys here. And there are a lot of things that I think I can confidently speak on. The entirety of Bricks is not exactly one of them yet, but I think we'll do a good job. All right, so quick agenda here, and then we'll kind of dive into some of these things. Is general thoughts on the state of WordPress, which I could talk about for hours. Is the block editors. I want to give some block editor FSE thoughts. I want to give my Bricks experience so far, and I want to show how my new MJS site is going. And then I also want to answer some of your questions if any of you guys have any. So, and I'll put them on the screen and we can have a chat about them if that's something that you guys want to do. Okay, so the first thing, let's just dive into this because again, like I want to start talking here. So, general thoughts on the state of WordPress. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely wild. Like I said, I've been in this since like 2018. I've been trying to build a little bit of websites before them. I'm about to be 28 here this month. So it's been a little bit. I feel like I'm one of the younger ones in this space, at least the people trying to make content on this specifically. I feel like everybody else is kind of at least in their 30s, which is just a random, just a random tidbit that I noticed. So I feel like I have a pretty decent amount of experience, but again, most of that was in Elementor. WordPress itself has evolved heavily since 2018. I remember when I started, I was very confused because I was like, oh, should we use themes or should we use, should you use a theme or should you use, can you only use a theme? Do you have to like just put these things where they go? There's text here, there's image here. Can you only just swap those out? What's this? What's that? And then you realize that, okay, well, yeah, you actually don't need to just use a theme. There's these things called page builders that were coming around that time. I don't know when Elementor was actually first made, but in 2018, you were able to start building with Elementor, and it was obviously way different than it was now. The ecosystem wasn't as big, and that was something that was kind of interesting. But it opened up a lot of possibilities. But you realize now, 5 years or so later, that when you go to build a website with Elementor, it's like twice as many DOM elements because it's basically like using widgets. They created widgets to put elements in, and the widgets are kind of still there. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but that's just technically, I don't know how to describe it. But when you look at it, it's like, okay, there's obviously some issues here, and everybody says Elementor has bloat and all that. And again, I never really had any issues. I did things to mitigate that. So I would build an Elementor site, and I would have plugins on it. I steered clear of like the free add-on plugins. I had Elementor Pro. I had Crocoblock Jet Engine, which was incredible when I found that. And then I also had maybe like Dynamic OOO, if you guys have ever heard of that one, which is just extends the dynamic functionality a little bit further, has like a certain level of extra elements and things that you can use for like really more like complex stuff. And that was a really good stack for me. Then I realized though that those websites of that magnitude get very slow very quickly because oxymoron there, because they are just so heavy. There's so much stuff going on. There's so much in that code base that you don't really, it's just bloat. It's literally the best way to say it. And again, I don't really have any qualms against it, But I'll tell you my, what I'm seeing now with like bricks, it's just a very different game. I mean, Elementor was good to me, but we're moving away from it. And it was just interesting. Now, the reason I want to say this, I don't want to harp on the fact that, I'm moving away from Elementor. I want to talk about it and everything like that. It's just like there are a lot of people. I've made content on Elementor. I made content on Crockablock, which I'm still using Crockablock, but Elementor is just like you don't know what is on the other side until you go and look and like check it out. Like, and I'm not even saying just bricks. I mean, like even anything else. Like if you've only ever used one page builder, you got to try something else. I'm not even saying you have to switch, but you should try something else. I feel like, um, so yeah, I mean, that's just, I don't know. The thing I would say though is that I would say that I had a little bit of an unfair advantage with bricks because I actually knew HTML, CSS, a little bit of JavaScript. I even know like Java from like college days. So that's a little bit of an unfair advantage if your mind works like that. If your mind doesn't work kind of in code and everything like that, you can absolutely still do it, but it is something that I would absolutely consider before you move into that realm. Because you know we all want to try to do our best and have like the best practices and everything like that, and I would recommend that, but I also don't like fitting like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Like if that's not who you are and not what you should do, this is a broader discussion. If that's not who you are, then maybe you should be the designer and bring in a developer, or maybe you should be the marketer and bring in a developer, or maybe you should be like the CEO and hire people to do those things. That's actually what I would recommend. Because if you don't want to dig into this shit all the time and think about like, oh, maybe I need to have a section, then I need to have a container, and then like all these different like with ACSS, like figuring out how variables work and figuring out like best practices on just trying to keep everything like beautifully aligned and perfectly semantic, perfect semantic CSS and all that sort of stuff. If you don't give a shit about that, then okay, do whatever you want, but like realize that that is the right way to do the stuff. I'm not saying you have to do it like that, but that is the right way to do the stuff. So just I feel like that is pretty that defined. And I know that was super generalized, but I'm saying like there is generally like a best practice to almost everything you're doing. Certainly there's not one way to do it, but a lot of times like when you really break it down, there are like, okay, this way is fundamentally better than this way. And if you don't like to search for that truth, then okay, but just realize I mean, you have to be honest with yourself, and then you also have to be like, if you really want to be awesome, like awesome at it, just have somebody else do it that fucking does want to do that. I don't know what that's just kind of the way that I think about it. So um, that's ultimately what my philosophy is going to be, at least for the time being on this channel and putting this content out there. Cause I think that's I want to show the things that I'm doing and I want to try to get better at that and try to structure everything so I can teach the things that I'm doing as well. But ultimately, you're make your own decision. If you're going to stick with Elementor for the rest of your life, then I don't know if I'm going to be the place to be talking about the development part of it, the design part of it, because we're probably going to be using bricks. So that's that. All right, so that was a lot about kind of the background there. Still about Elementor. I want to talk about more the state of WordPress, and I did make a live stream a few weeks ago talking about like what the fuck is going on in the WordPress ecosystem. It's pretty funny. I think it's really interesting. Again, the people that I follow a whole slew of people. WP or like Web Squadron, WP Toots, Kevin Geary, Wiki Design, and all these people, fantastic content. Never, I mean, every single one of these people, fantastic content. Even the ones that I didn't name, like all sorts of awesome. And I've just learned a lot, so I'm greatly appreciative. And like it's again why I want to make the content, because I want to be a part of the whole conversation, and everything like that. The admin bar, Kyle of the admin bar, Jonathan Jernigan. So all these people make fantastic content. Fantastic people doing their thing, killing it. I do want to talk about though some ideas and some thoughts and some concerns that I have just on certain aspects of everything. I was an Elementor user, as we've established. I am now a Bricks user. I've never used the block editor for more than you have to use the block editor. and full site editing and everything like that. I've not delved into that. I am asking questions, and I would hopefully throughout the evolution of this channel, we can talk to more of those people that I named, and we can actually have a discussion, because one of my favorite things in life is to ask questions. I mean, it's absolutely my favorite thing. I've actually gotten compliments on it, on, wow, you asked really interesting questions and insightful questions. So, whatever. But my thing is, like, I want to hear somebody talk, and I want to ask why this, why that, not condescendingly, but literally just trying to get down to it so I can break it down in my mind, because everybody learns differently. I'll give you a perfect example, and I will shout out Adam Lowe. You should go watch his video here. I will see if I can throw this in the chat. There you go. This is a video that Adam Lowe released. Go subscribe to him. Great content. And he is starting a, I am not sharing my screen. There we go. He released this video today. It's Block Themes from Scratch, Part 1. And I watched this video in its entirety, even though I've never used the full site editor, and I'm considering, and I haven't really considered to use it, but I'm trying to keep an eye, an ear to the, what is it, ear to the fire? I don't know. Ear to the ground? I don't know. But on this and the trajectory of everything here, right? I'm not going to watch this right now. We're not going to like react to it or whatever. I'm just going to use this as an example. Go watch that video, like I said. I just have concerns about the I don't even have concerns. Okay. I have questions. That's what I have, is questions. The questions that I have are so much greater than I think a lot of other people ask, like deeper, like more meaningful in a way. Like, so let me give you an example. And this is to illustrate that other point. So I'm watching this video, and constantly in my head, I'm like thinking like, oh, should I like I'm constantly having questions as I'm watching the video. Like, why are we doing this? Why wouldn't we be doing this? Like not just even technical, like higher up, like business questions. Okay. Cause that's actually ultimately where my mind more so goes. Technical, yes, but like, it's all more of like for a reason. And this is, I mean, we're getting kind of, borderline, not philosophical, but we are getting definitely like to that layer of like psychology, because not every person in the web development community, and we'll just say even WordPress community, not every person in the WordPress community, I don't believe, and I can pretty much verifiably say this, is the same. Like they don't have the same goals. They don't want to achieve the same things. They don't want to build the same types of websites for the same types of people. I mean, it's almost goes without saying that, but I think we often forget that as either content creators or just people in groups online. And I think the problem with that becomes we project what we want to do onto other people, and our goals and our aspirations on other people. And then I'll give you an example. I could be like, I want to build huge e-commerce platforms and group membership websites for large like entities that want to do that sort of thing or something, right? And then I could be telling you or XYZ or whoever how to do that and how to think in order to do that, when you, or again, whoever, wants to just build freaking 4-page brochure sites with absolutely no dynamic content whatsoever. And that's perfectly fine. The problem is, I think a lot of times the reason these things happen is because we don't preface those discussions with the part that needs to happen, which is like, what are your goals? What are your aspirations? What are you trying to achieve? Now, if you break it down, there are fundamentals that everybody probably should kind of, abide by with the best practices and stuff. But at the end of the day, I mean, the goals are really what's driving people like heavily. It's like I think there's a lot of people that toe this line, because I'm there kind of as well, like between like freelancer and agency, and like, and if you want to build a team, if you don't want to build a team, like how much money you ultimately want to make, who you want to serve, like I was saying. And I think it's just really interesting, because if we don't have that conversation first, then it's very difficult to actually have an honest conversation about it, because we're not on the same wavelength there. Is kind of is the way that I think. And if you think differently, let me know. But that's kind of my thing. And and not only that, then not only do you have different goals, aspirations, you also have different sociotype. I don't know what it is. Sociotypes, sociology. No, I don't know what it is. But it's like different like mindsets or different ways that everybody minds work, right? So it goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that if you're not the like if you're developer, designer, marketer, like whatever buckets you want to put yourself in, if you're not one of them, right, or if you are one of them, then you might not be as strong at the other two, and you might be talking to somebody that is stronger at another one, or both of them or something, right? If you're a designer and you're talking to a developer, you're not really speaking the same language. It's like you're close and you could definitely communicate, but there's nuances to that that they don't know and they know that you don't know. And it's just like I think that sometimes we forget that. So and that's why also too that I literally hate, like I absolutely hate text-based discussion in like all of these groups and like whatever, like communities and everything like that. Like I genuinely dislike that like heavily, because I feel that it leaves out so much nuance to the conversation. And when you're having an actual that's why I want to talk to more people in this community via live stream just like this, because I think it could be extremely productive, even if we don't necessarily disagree on things. Just like talking and answering questions and having that's so powerful and so productive. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. But to dive into it a little bit, that was the prelude, the preamble to it. To dive into it just a little bit on the surface, and again, I'm not an experienced FSE and block editor person, but if you watch the video that I threw in the chat there, and you just check out other FSE things, here's my concern. Let's get some facts out of the way. WordPress is free, open source. We all love it. We're all thankful for it. And I don't know the inner workings, but apparently like it's all volunteer based, or most of it's volunteer based, and totally understand that. Okay, cool. What I will say from just that though, it's a little bit of I don't really think it's a hot take, but it's a little bit of a like a truism that people would definitely probably dispute. Is it is of my opinion that if you have a generally, if somebody is paying for something, if something is making money and there's like a profit business, it is probably going to be developed quicker. Not always, obviously, but there's more incentive to develop quicker and deliver to the people that are paying you, because if they stop paying you, you are fucked, right? So I'm not saying that I want WordPress to cost money necessarily, but I will say that like if we're just talking super high level, if you look at like something that doesn't cost money and something that does cost money, you have a little bit of a difference there in the way that that's going to operate, because nobody really wants to work for free, I don't think. I mean, some people might say that, but and they're volunteer. And again, I'm extremely grateful, but I don't think anybody really wants to work for free. So if they are working for free, there's just like a lot more things because they have other things that they need to do, right? They need to go make money somewhere else, or they need to just do other things that are of priority. So that's just kind of where I'm coming from with that. Okay. But that out of the way there. However, WordPress.org actually works, and I'll like if it's completely volunteered or what the deal is. The point is that platform that is open source powers 43% of the internet. Okay, it is a big deal. Like it is a big deal, and it's been very great for a long time. We are at this weird point now, and again, I think it partially because of maybe people like partially like myself, even though I'm just getting into it, like content creators and things like that are actually like making videos that are getting traction in the community, that are talking about different things. Kevin Geary as one, because I'm going to shout him out directly. Like they're just talking, like they're just saying things about the platform, and they're like digging in and they're checking things out. They're not like completely dismantling it. They're not like saying this is the worst thing ever. They're not saying like screw WordPress, I'm leaving. They're not saying that. It's such an interesting phenomenon because it reminds me of like a political environment. It's like infighting between people that are like all in the WordPress community, but still for some reason like have this thing going on. And here's the thing. Most people that I see having these discussions are all well-intentioned. They just want to move the thing forward. That's all they want, and they have their own ideas on how to do it. But that's where the like the conflict comes, I guess you could call it. And they just want to move it forward. They just want to move forward. And I hear great arguments like everywhere and like discussions and everything like that. And it's like we just need to decide and we need to keep moving forward and like just keep going. And obviously, though, you would think that those things should involve best practices and all that sort of stuff. So where I'm going with this is like into the full site editing and block editing thing. Here is where the nuance really comes in. Again, I'm going to mention Adam Lowe's video because it's the one that's freshest on my mind. Extremely well done, extremely well, like extremely good, high quality education on how to do what he is describing there, which is like build a block theme from scratch. Extremely good. The way that I watch that video though is I watch it from a agency owner perspective in 2024. I think to myself, okay, this is definitely assuming that they continue on this trajectory, the future of WordPress. Totally get it, totally understand. I want it to succeed. However, it is verifiably not where it needs to be to create the types of websites that I would want to create. Highly complex, highly dynamic, all this sort of stuff. Like, I think about this all the time when I run into a situation where the page builder lets me down. It's like I chose this page builder. I came across a thing, which I'll show you some stuff in bricks. And it's like, I think this thing is letting me down right now. I think like I invested my time, energy, and everything into building 90% of this website. And I think I'm going to have to like do some weird shit to make this last 5 or 10% work. That upsets me. Okay. So if we think of it in that realm, right? And when we're comparing, again, just because this is the conversation, page builders to the core editor, the block editor, full site editing, WordPress core. If we're comparing those two things, I guarantee you that on large scale dynamic type projects, the delta of what you can and can't do is what you can't do is larger on the WordPress core. And that's not like a knock. Like that is just a statement. That is not like this thing sucks because it can't do 40% of what I want as opposed to 10. It's just, I mean, like, I don't think anybody is like actually trying to make waves when they say that. They're just saying like, this is my experience. So, and maybe the best way to do that is literally actually showing that, certainly, instead of just talking. I totally get that. I'm not going to do that right now, full disclosure, but maybe one day I will. But again, people like Kevin Geary like have done that recently, and it's not really met with the same type of energy. And I don't want to keep calling out people, but I'm just saying like it's just weird to me the way that I'm seeing it because again, from my perspective, I'm looking at it from an agency level and like a business, like a business longevity type situation. And this is literally how I see it. Okay. So I'm going to consider building a custom theme in the block editor and all that. I'm going to consider that. And then I watch how to do it. And it seems so like weird, clunky. And it's even admitted that it's like an inconsistent user experience and everything like that. And I just don't want to be like the first one to the party. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't sound like a savvy business move to be the first one to the party. And then there's another point that I want to hit on as well. There's another point that's common. It's WordPress is going this direction, so you might as well, it's basically put like this. WordPress is going this direction, so you might as well jump on the train now. Is kind of how it's put. Understand where you're coming from. However, that's not normally how I think business operate. Like you don't just like jump and jump onto something while it's like in its infancy and while it'd be extremely inefficient for you to do it. And that is something that is like admitted, but not like fully processed. And it's difficult for me to like really understand the situation there. Like I want to be able to build highly scalable, maintainable, complex websites relatively simply, because if I didn't want to do it simply, I would just code it myself. Cause like, that's what we should all be doing, I guess. Right. If we actually wanted to go that route, but no, obviously we're in WordPress, we're in a great CMS system. But we're at the mercy of the open source software, which again is fantastic, but that's the case. So again, hopefully I'm making sense here, not just rambling. But my point is that that is what, those are my concerns. But that's the way I process it, right? Because if you don't verify how you're processing it and where your perspective is coming from, then it's totally different. You could have somebody saying that FSE is the greatest thing in the world, and all they do is build like simple things. I mean, you could build queries, obviously, I'm saying, but like querying terms, querying users, whatever the case may be. Like, I haven't seen it. I just haven't seen it. So I maybe have to go do it as well, but I haven't seen it, and it's just really interesting. So um, the broader point, though, is the state of WordPress is somewhat in shambles, because that's coming up, and it is definitely not there yet. And it's weird to me that It's also weird to me that, like, again, the common trope is like WordPress is for everybody, but you have to know React to build custom pieces of it that are not going to be in the core thing. And it's just weird to me. So I'm probably barking up, or preaching to the choir here at this point. But yeah, so that's why we're with Bricks. That's why I've moved this direction, because I really just absolutely love it so far, and I can give you some initial thoughts on it as I go through some of these things. So here's where I would say is some of my audience, if we have any audience at all in general, but some of the subscriber base, at least, I know is definitely kind of from the Elementor time, because I've made Elementor content. I really haven't even actually made any Bricks content yet. So there's definitely going to be some overlap there. And if you want to unsubscribe because I'm not going to be like putting up Elementor content anymore, or mainly pretty much at all, I appreciate, you while you were here. But it's going to be mostly, if not entirely, like Bricks based now, because again, just in these last 2 weeks, I've learned so much, and I've just been super impressed. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through kind of like my Bricks experience so far while showing you some of this MJS stuff, because I really think that there's some cool stuff going on here. This is going to be a huge resource when it's done for everyone. So honestly, everything on here is going to be like free, other than like, some one-on-one consulting and things like that. Like all this stuff. I just want to be this is if you've seen some of the other things that I put up there, I made a personal brand video, and I talked about like how my old website looked and everything like that. And we could even like kind of compare and contrast a couple things, but I'm going to do this while I'm going to talk to you about Bricks while I'm showing you some of these things, because I'm proud of it. And I think that there's going to be a lot of value here when we get to the point. So not nearly complete. I think I just spilled water on myself. Not nearly complete, but I will show you some of the things that we have going on here. So let's take a look at it. All right. So obviously, our homepage here, and actually, honestly, I think this is actually live. If you want to go look at it too, just staging.markjosfancy.com. There you go, free Easter egg for you. All right. So if we take a look at here again, about and home, not really done. Let's actually start here, because I'm actually trying to do this more so because I'm trying to. Let's forget about all that other shit. Okay, all that other stuff is like, high level, like what's going on in the community, everything like that. I'm gonna stop that, because I really love talking about that stuff, because I like analyzing all of that. But I'm gonna be honest with you, my passion is really much more in like actually educating you on how to do shit, and not just from a technical aspect, but also from a business aspect. I'm not perfect. Again, I don't know everything, but I do know some stuff, and I'd like to share that with you, so you could at least like think about it, bob it around in your head a little bit, and then think, okay, maybe I should do this, shouldn't do this. What's your experience? All that sort of stuff. Maybe we could have a conversation too. Okay. So here's what I'm currently doing. Okay. There's a website. This website here is called whimsical.com. It's really good for mind maps. I would actually say it's kind of shitty for site mapping specifically, because I tried to use the sitemap portion. If you go to like template and you go to this detailed sitemap or starter sitemap, I just don't really like how you can't navigate. You can navigate so easily with your just your arrow keys here on these mind maps, and then you just cannot do the same thing really. It's really, unless I've been using it again for a week, so I don't really know, but it just doesn't seem good. But I would say that you should check this out if you haven't, because it's a really cool tool for different aspects of the process and everything like that, just on the planning phase. I'm going to be 100% honest with you that the websites that I've created in my history, I have not been fantastic on the planning and design side. I've actually done most of that work inside of Elementor in the past. And with Bricks, I don't really want to do that, because Bricks is more of a I would call it more of a developer focused approach. And I just don't want to be playing around in the editor is kind of like the way that I've just thought of. Like, I don't want to be playing around in there. I'd rather play around out here, move stuff around and things like that, get some of that planning done, then go into WordPress and into the editor and then create the site structure, create the pages and the templates and all that, and then just have a better experience overall there. So what I have done, trying to test it out on my own site first before I deploy to clients and everything like that in future projects, it's just a simple mind map just to start off. And you can get more complex with like SEO terms and slugs and all that. I'm just not there yet. Okay. I mean, you could do all sorts of things with this tool. This is really sick, but just super basic. Let's just look at this real quick. Okay. If you were doing this for yourself, like a personal brand's website or an agency website, again, this is a more of a personal brand. So it's going to look a little and feel a little different, but like about, resources, glossary, tools, books, videos, community, consulting, and then some other like more hidden pages or just things you need. 404, maybe like a squeeze page for a LinkedIn bio, maybe a straight up like mailing list page, like a landing page for that to sign up for that, and then some policies. And then each one of them kind of maybe has certain things coming off from them, right? So about would have like a press kit or media kit, different brands or projects I'm working on, my stack. Resources is going to be I just kind of did it like this because I'm thinking about the things that I have to do. So these are all archives, right? So that would be a custom post type. If you have any questions on this while I'm doing this, throw them in the chat. I'll put it on the screen. We can talk about it. But resources, glossary, tools, books, videos, all of those are custom post types. So they're going to have an archive. That archive page I will show you because a lot of those are kind of like in their, in like version, 0.5 or whatever. I'll show you what I mean by that, but they're going to have an archive page. And this is building the site structure to me, okay? The site architecture. So then they're going to have an archive page, and then they're all going to have, most of them, depending on what they are going to have a single, meaning that I'm going to have over 300 tools on this website that I have personally used. And I'm going to show you all of those tools. And then you can click on any of those tools and go to its own page that might have a link to it directly, might have an affiliate link, might have information about why I like it, why I don't like it, some of the pros, some of the cons, things like that. All of the information here is extremely subjective and extremely opinionated. It is my website, so I'm talking about it the way that I see it. It's all about perspective here. It's not going to be perfect because it's my perspective is the way that I think about it, right? So there's just a lot of stuff like that. And then, like I said, consulting will have maybe like different options for that. And community, that's something that I want to kick to you guys. If we continue to do this and there is a draw and like a interest enough in building a community, we could build a Facebook community. We could build a paid like, circle.so community. I constantly consume other people's content. And I think about like, what are the pros? What are the cons to doing a free model versus a paid model versus this platform versus that platform. And I want to try those things for myself and for you guys. So if we want to get to that route, we can go that route. I am not 100% sold on that yet because we are still building. We're still building the audience. We're still building the brand, but this is literally not day one by any means, but this is the ground floor basically. So I'm literally showing you from the ground up. So what I would do, what I haven't done for this website, again, because it's a little different, you at least need something like this to visualize what you're going to be building before you start projects. I think is super important. What you should probably do next is you could do something like this where you get a little bit more detailed if you want. I'm going to delete this because I think I actually have to, I don't like how this is all like, just not a fan of that. I'm not a fan that it's not all like one thing. Like you delete, as a side note with this whimsical, you delete this whole thing. Just wish it was more of a holistic thing, but customizable, but just pros and cons. Anyway, once you have like a site structure, what I would highly recommend is that you actually build out some design, some UX, some UI. I'm working on the whole process myself, so I can't really give you a ton of advice. But if it's for somebody else, you have to be the biggest advice I absolutely can give. This is 100%. I'd feel 100% confident. You have to scope the shit out of these projects for clients. Like it gets out of hand so fast if you don't set expectations and you don't have an exact price for the exact amount of work that you do. I see it all the time in these groups. I've done it myself. I'm not, again, I'm not perfect. It is a nightmare. And if you don't do it, if you don't scope it exactly, like it sounds like overkill until you're sitting there with like 16 different changes that all have varying levels of severity on how they affect the website that you're building, and how much time they're going to take, and you're not getting paid for any of that. It is awful. It is awful, awful, awful. And I'm never doing that again. And this is like kind of like a baby step in that realm to go that way. It's like, if it's not on this freaking thing, we are not building it. It is not included in the price. For some reason, and again, it's not like the client's fault, but it's just a thing in this industry where either we don't educate enough or they don't know enough. And if you don't, it's on you. Like, the onus is on you. You have to educate. Like, you have to take accountability for that. And you have to say, like, look, this is just like going to the grocery store. If you didn't pay for the bananas, you don't get to walk out with them. If you didn't pay for the about page, you don't get to walk out with it. We don't get to launch it with it. It's that simple. So it gets more nuanced than that, but that is literally how direct you have to be, I feel like. So yeah. All right. But anyway, let's dive into a little more so I can kind of show you some. So this, with the site architecture in mind, that's where we're headed. And if we go over here, we can kind of see, like, so the about and homepage, we kind of talked about that. Here's the thing. I'm going to super stream of consciousness. Again, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, want to know how to do any of it, I'm more than happy to do it now, making another videos and stuff like that too. This is almost basically unstyled. It's just kind of like using, again, bricks and using, I could go off on a tangent here, but I will refrain. It's using ACSS, a little bit of frames, but not really. That was the tangent that I could talk more about. And then really just like custom post types. So actually, again, I'm going to stop for a second. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to talk to you about what I have loaded on this website before we even go crazy. Okay. And actually I want to do a little comparison because I think this is really important. This website, markjosemancy.com, which you can't access right now because it has a thing on it. But if you do go to that link, you can sign up for my mailing list, which I would really appreciate. But yeah, you can sign up for that. Get notified when the site's fully live, when we launch new things. It'd be awesome. I would greatly appreciate that. No obligation to do so, though. This is the one that I was building, and I talk about this in that other video, but this is the one that I was building in Elementor, and gets slow real fast. And I'll show you an example of it. But I want to show you kind of like just the plugins, okay? Just the plugin comparison as an example. It's already slow. I mean, this is grid pane, vulture, high frequency. Like it's slow. And obviously this stuff is out of date because I don't care about this website right now because I'm rebuilding. But like, I mean, and some of this stuff will come back, but not nearly all of it. Like, not Elementor. I'm going to try to leave out dynamic OO. Happy Files is on the new one. You'll see that. But we've got Jet Engine. We got Jet Form Builder. We get Jet Search. We got Jet Smart Filters. I want to talk about that. That'll come up. Jet Tabs. Late Point. Oh man, I could talk about Late Point. I want to use Late Point, but I just can't. Rank Math will be on there. Redis. Sitekit by Google. I've been using that for such a long time. I don't really think it's necessary. Dark Mode. I don't need that. Importer, I was just exporting some stuff, and then hide login. You don't. I mean, it's like, I want to keep the stack tight. You know what I mean? And and here's the thing though. I will say a common misconception that I would say about the stack being tight and the less plugins and everything like that, that's not 100% necessary. Like, you can have a lot of plugins and still have a quick site that is lean and robust. Now, when I say a lot, I don't mean 50. I mean like maybe 20, 25, like that's not actually a lot. It really depends on the way that they all kind of combine to work together. So I'm gonna give you an example over here. Over here, we got 10 right now. We have, and we actually have more. We have stuff that we didn't have on the other one. And I don't even really use frames. Like, I mean, I use frames, but I don't like just dropping in those local templates and then being like, I got to rename classes and stuff. And I got to like know exactly how, they did everything. Like, I like using it as like kind of a model, honestly. There's been a lot of times where I drop in a frame and I'm like, how can I build pieces of this? Because I'm still new and I'm making sure the best practices are there. How can I build pieces of this without just using that template? And it works good. I mean, so yeah, but good product there. Onyx CSS, lifetime. I have lifetime deals here. Happy Files Pro lifetime deal, pretty sure, right? Yeah. And then Jet Engine have a lifetime deal. Jet for Smart Filters is on here, and we will talk about that because I learned the term facet recently, and that's what those are called. That's apparently, I don't know where some of these terms come from. I guess it's because like people just coin the terms And like, why would you call it a facet? I mean, I guess I understand why you call it a facet, maybe because it means more than filter, I guess. But that's also another thing that I'm going to have on this website is a glossary of like over 500 terms of web design stuff and business adjacent stuff. So you're gonna want to check that out when I'm finished with that. But smart filters, apparently, like facets and filters are kind of almost synonymous. So if you've ever like had a grid and you want to filter it, like on Amazon or e-commerce or whatever, apparently another word for that is facet, which is interesting. Okay, so then we have NGX Helper, which is kind of like a grid pane. It's not really a grid pane thing, but it's like something that's pre-installed on grid pane installations to help with NGX. And then Rank Math, Redis Object Cache. I don't even think I need WordPress Importer because I was importing some of that data, which was a real pain in the ass. Like this is a really good plugin if you have Crocoblock, WP Ultimate CSV Importer Pro, really good. Like actually does a really good job at importing. It's probably one of the only ones that can import like all of the fields and custom fields in Jet Engine, but it's just weird. Like it doesn't. It's for some reason like I was having trouble, and maybe there's a way to fix this where I was bringing in data and it didn't know the relations because it's assigning new IDs to the things that were never on the website before. So I don't know why I can't just bring in the same ID. I don't know. It was weird, but I'll fix it all, but it's just strange. But my point in saying this is all of this site compared to the other site, super lean. Like, I mean, it is fast. Like it's snappy on the back end, which is a little bit more because of obviously the server and everything like that. But it's snappy on the back end, and then even on the front end. Like let me just show you a quick example, and then we can like kind of dive in and we can get rid of this. So like early stages of the old one here, and click on this tools 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I mean that's atrocious. Okay, and I will tell you why. This is so bad. One, because there's a shit ton of tools on here that you're really gonna love, but the reason it's so bad is because this page is built with Elementor as like the page builder. And then this grid is a listing grid element in Elementor that is the listing grid is an element of Jet Engine. So those are all Jet Engine post types, which is fine. I mean, you could use ACF. I don't know if I'm going to prefer Jet Engine forever, but it's either Jet Engine or ACF Pro, and I already have the LTD for Jet Engine, so it's what we're using for now. It's working pretty well. We can talk more about it. But listing grid, and then those are listing items over in Jet Engine. When you get into Bricks and you see this, like you can build, I didn't even realize you could do this. You can build the card directly in the page. You don't have to do the separate area where like you have to like pull the things in and everything like that. It's a little weird and unnecessary. But I mean, it worked before, like functionally, but it's very slow because it's like too many things like happening and too many bits of code and all this sort of stuff. So I think, and I want to go on, I want to say something here really quick that I think is important. I recreated this in Jet Engine, or I'm sorry, I recreated this on the Bricks site. I will show you. I think Jet Engine gets a bad rap though. I think Jet Engine gets a bad rap, especially with these smart filters, because everybody says that these smart filters are really slow. And that right there was that's like kind of slow, but it's not awful. When you're filtering, this is pretty slow. When you go back to load all of them, I mean, like I think it's still working, right? Okay, so you see how slow that was. It doesn't do that in Bricks. So I've heard people say that Crocoblock is bloated. I don't want to harp on Elementor, but it's truly Elementor. Like I don't understand what exactly is going on in the back end, but like the smart filters in Bricks, unless they changed the way that they work in Bricks, I don't know. I will show you everything that I'm pulling up on the screen here in depth. But I want to show you the tools page that I created so far over in Bricks, and it's pretty much the same thing. Obviously, the styling is a little different. We gotta work on some stuff, but if you click on like design and graph, okay, that's a bad example. Those ones are bad examples. But did you see how fast that came back? Credit card, whatever, plug-in SaaS, credit card, SaaS. Like that's way faster. Like I know it's still not instantaneous, and there's probably ways I can make it quicker, but that's way faster than the other thing, than the other implementation. So all I'm saying is like I have had Crocoblock has changed my life, and I'm sure there's even things like but what I'm not doing is I'm not doing it the same way. I'm using the Bricks query. I'm trying to use Bricks native for everything possible, and And as Brick's native features get added, I will try to pull the stuff out and use the native stuff. But like for instance, if you're building a page like this, okay, if you're building a tools page like this, right? So up here, this is an archive. We can talk about that, whatever. But down here, you build a grid. So this grid, and we could probably just hop into the builder here, and I can kind of start talking to you about this because a lot of these pages are kind of similar in nature. So this is totally foreign to me. If you're probably a Bricks user, maybe if you're watching this, so maybe I'm just again preaching to the choir with some of this stuff. But this is incredible to me because this is a totally different workflow. When you get down to like your tool list here, like if you have like a grid, right, or whatever, and you have on the left hand side you have your filter column, and then you have this, and again the terminology, bear with me, but you have like your your grid items or whatever. If you're on this tool list piece, okay, this tool list block, right? You just throw in a card, like another block, and then you can make that any query or any container, any section, any block, any div, whatever can be a query. It's totally different. You can query loop it. It's totally different than the way Elementor works. I mean, it is mind-bogglingly different because it's so much more direct and simple. It does get a little weird sometimes, maybe a little confusing if you're not used to looking at all this and everything like that. And you obviously have to get used to the UI. But again, this is just my honest thoughts on this so far. It is like remarkably easier to actually do. It's not remarkably easier to understand at first. But Elementor isn't like easy either. They're just different. But this is if you actually want to be in here building websites, I feel like this is way better for me at least. So that's my opinion. So going back to it here, we have the card, okay, which is a block and has maybe a little bit of styling on it, has a custom class, stuff like that. It's set up as a list item because this is kind of like a list of things. The other one is an unordered list, all that. But I'm talking about the query specifically. So here's the difference, okay? Let me actually show you. Here's the difference. In Elementor, because Elementor has a similar side panel, all that sort of stuff. If I was in Elementor, this is what I would type in. I would type in listing grid, and then I would drag this list. I'm actually not even sure exactly why the listing grid is in here. I mean, I guess I understand in Bricks, but like it really doesn't need to be. Jet Engine, that's fine that they included, but my opinion, I'm probably never going to use this because I can't think of a reason why I would need to use it now. So you'd grab this listing grid, you drop it in, and then you have to go pick a listing item that you created in a separate place and then drop it in here. Just totally different here. If you've done that, you know what I'm talking about, but you don't even need to worry about it because it's totally different here. You create this one card and then you say that you're going to query loop it. And then you're able to just say posts, tools, title, ascending, however many you want, all that sort of stuff. You can even say like how many, no results. You can even have like a little Ajax. I mean, this is pretty awesome how it's all just right here and it's all sick. And I haven't even done like super complex queries yet. So that'll be awesome. But my point is, and this is where my workflow from before kind of intertwines with like this workflow is, okay, that's cool. So we have a card and we can query and we can do all that sort of stuff. That's native to Bricks. That's awesome. Here's a problem though. And this is where I was actually concerned. I was really concerned when I got to this point. So I was like, okay, that's awesome. We can make that query. That's fantastic. But then I'm like, well, over here, I had these filters or facets or whatever the hell you want to call them. I had these things over here, right? And I was like, how do I do that? How do I do that in Bricks? Does Bricks have native filtering? Bricks is pretty sick, but does it have native filtering? I'm pretty sure the answer to that question is no currently. It doesn't have native facets or filters or whatever. So I was like, damn, that's concerning. That's not ideal. But then I realized that I had an LTD to CrocoBlock. And well, actually I looked at other things first because I'm like, is this going to work? Whatever. Luckily CrocoBlock does. And that's what I did. But apparently there's WP Grid Builder. Maybe there's some other ones or whatever. I've never used that. And I'm not going to buy another thing right now if I don't have to. So I was like, let me check out smart filters. So Jet Engine smart filters is you set these up in the back end and then you pull in like, for instance, a, like this is like a checkboxes filter. This is a search filter, and all that is through Jet Engine smart filters. And again, I have a full CrocoBlock suite, so I can do whatever I want. But I was really, really impressed. This is like if you understand the concept there, that's like a separate thing. This is the piece that's like super super nuanced, that if this wasn't the case, you would be screwed. When you put this in here, you pick your category, which is tool filter category. It's literally just saying like, look at the categories of that we have. It's actually not even tool category. It's just straight up categories right now. So look at the categories and then list all of them. And then when it's a checkbox filter. So when you check analytics and reporting, it only shows those, or, XYZ, whatever. It's just like an Amazon or e-commerce filter, whatever. This field right here, or this, I don't know, this, whatever this is, variable, or, this property, this filter for, this is the most important thing. If this didn't say Bricks query loop and they did not integrate it like that, then I would have had to use like a jet engine listing grid, and I would have been almost back where I was with Elementor. The fact that Jet Smart Filters integrates directly with the loop that I created natively in Bricks is absolutely next level. And I think that's the thing that like drives it over the top. I don't know because I never used Elementor in this way. And it probably would have been a little faster if I would have, if it is applicable, which it may be now. I never even got into the query loop of Elementor stage because I left that environment, or I left I was in Elementor, I was using it, and I was using like LE custom skin to create the listing items and like the cards. And then I went to Jet Engine. I was using listing items. And at that time, that's when they implemented the loop in Elementor. So I can't speak to that. I don't want to speak to that because maybe that's a little bit better. But all I'm saying is this is fantastic by my estimation. So I'm super happy with the way that I was able to kind of do this. And again, like filter everything very quickly with something that I already had, with tools that I already had that work together. So again, my stack currently is Bricks and CrocoBlock when I need CrocoBlock. I don't even need CrocoBlock to the extent that I did before. So this is, if we're talking about leaning out, this is going very well. So so that's like our simple tools page here. Each one of these is kind of a card. It has the whole Kevin Geary situation where you have like the link here, but you do the parent focusable thing because it's on ACSS. It's got the utility classes on there and everything like that. There's gonna be a lot more stuff here. I don't think I have the single set up yet. I don't, but yeah. So look forward to more stuff here. But let's go check out some other stuff. So resources, same type of deal. It's going to have the single. It's going to have all this different stuff here that is not done yet. We can look at books because I just did this morning. This is actually a really interesting one, to be honest. The headers and everything, like I said, I'm trying to work on that. Let me talk about the headers though while we're here, okay? Because you've seen 6 headers now. All right, let me talk about the headers. Components, right? There is this thing, and I'm so confused why every page builder has decided that they're going to call shit different stuff. Like Bricks is probably the best because it keeps it semantic to the actual original stuff. Like it's calling sections, containers, whatever. Like for the most part, everything is like how you would see it in the DOM is how you would see it on the builder for the most part, right? Like that's the whole shtick, right? Which is great. Here's my thing though. Why are we calling like templates that are kind of like components? And I just got educated again on this recently, but it's like, why are we making shit up? It's like the word global is being used in different ways. So like basically you could say, you could come in here and you could like get like this header element and this text element, and you could be like and like that's wrapped in like a block or whatever, and that could be like a global element, and then you take that global element and you save it. So then you take that and you put it on a different page, and it's like the exact same thing in both places. It's like that is probably very rare that that's actually useful because I've tried it before, and then you can do that whole unlinking thing, and it's like whatever, really not useful. What I was trying to do here, and I actually don't know a solution to this yet, so if you have a solution, let me know. But here's what I was trying to do here, if you can kind of tell. If we look at resources, we look at tools, and we look at books, right? All 3 of those right now just have the same like header section. And then you can see that the header is changing, right? That is set up via an archive title, but they look the same, but they're not connected in any way, which is not ideal. You do not want that. Okay. So what I want to do is I wanted to create a component basically that has an archive title here, has a blurb or description here or whatever, maybe has a button to like scroll down or do something or whatever. And then this, I want to have a video on each page. So when somebody comes to these, when they're complete, I can be like, hey, check out this video or whatever to explain what you're seeing here below. I'll probably have text as well, but I just love video, obviously. So it'll be like a video, and it'll say like, and on this tools page, it'll say, hey, something like, hey, thanks for checking out, the page, website, whatever. Everything below, every one of these tools below is like just a tutorial for the page. Every one of these tools below is everything that I've used. I've physically used this at least once, and I'm going to give you my opinion on it based off of, like what it does and kind of what it might mean for you. And if I could go even further and I could make it like even something where you could like search it based off of like need, and there's gonna be a lot more data in there, it'll grow. But my point is like explain to them what they're looking at, not just like, it's not just a list of tools. It's not just like I didn't just pick every single tool that I've ever seen. It's like I actually use these, and I'm going to tell you why I either do or don't use them still, what I thought of them, etc. And then there'll be a different place for like the tools that I specifically use right now if you're interested in those. Okay. But my point is like, I wanted a specific video on each one of these pages, right? So books would have a different video. Videos doesn't have a thing right now. Resources would have a different video. Okay. So what I was trying to do is those are custom post types. These are like archives of the entire post, right? They're not like a category archive. They're literally /resources, /videos, /whatever. So what I'm trying to do is, if we go back in here, this is an archive title. This you would think could be an archive description. Have no idea where to set that. I think maybe you could set it. The only place I've seen you could set that is like in like rank math, maybe. So I'm not exactly sure there. But the thing is, like, I know there's a way in ACF to kind of do post type archive fields, and that's great. And you can kind of do that in Gen Engine as well for categories, but you can't really seemingly do it for like just the whole post type. Now, one thing you could do maybe is put like, I was thinking maybe use an options page or something, but really what I would like to do is just be in like videos, like literally almost like just go to, I don't know, even like tools right here and have custom fields. This is the only place I would see to have it would be like tools, and have custom field like in here for the whole tools thing. That's probably not where it would make sense to go. I was even playing around with meta boxes. I don't think that's what we want, which is another interesting thing though, because meta boxes, if you're familiar with ACF, you're actually probably more used to meta boxes, because you can create field groups and then you can assign them to multiple different post types. And I don't normally do it like that. I normally just, this post type has these fields. But meta boxes is actually kind of a different way to do that, because in Gen Engine, if you're not familiar with it, you go to post types, okay? And this is back to what I was saying. You go to tools, and then you're here. And it's like, okay, these are the meta fields. Like you see all this data that's going to happen here, right? These are the meta fields for each individual tool. Fantastic, works great. But how do I create a meta field that is like attached to the, not to the individual tools, but to the whole, like either the archive of tools or the entire post type itself? Haven't figured out a way to do that. If you know a way to do that, let me know. I will shout you out. I appreciate it. But my point is, because I started this whole thing on the component thing, is if you could do that, or if I could figure out a way to do that, where I could say like variable here for like archive name or post type name. Down here, I could say post type description. Over here, I could say post type tutorial URL. Then I could create a dynamic component, and I could, and here's the thing, you can't do this in bricks yet. So like this is a huge deal, but like I have thought about this so many times, and I've done so many weird workarounds to make this happen. If you could do this in bricks, it's going to be absolutely next level. And I know it's on the roadmap, but we'll see when it happens. If you could create a dynamic component like that, rather than like messing around with different templates or global things or whatever, or just like copying and pasting, then you could set this whole section as a dynamic component on on like every archive, or however you want, like whatever conditions you could set on the resources, videos, books, and tools. You could set that up there. You could have those things pull in dynamically, those three pieces of information. And then underneath, you could have a custom like page, like custom content. Like I know they all kind of look similar now because they have the filter and the other thing, but like they could be like, cards here. It could literally just be like, just multiple sections or whatever you want. But that dynamic component piece where you're only changing and you're not making a whole page template, you're making just a piece of it. That is like, that would be that would be next level. So hopefully they get that really soon, because I would really like to do that. And then I need to figure out, again, like I was saying, with the archives there and everything like that. But yeah, so that's that. So like you can see here, that's what I'm talking about. I'll play around with that more. I'll make more content on that. You guys let me know what you want to see there. But yeah, so down here, let me show you this books thing real quick, because this is what I was working on. Because there is this looks relatively simple, but there's a couple things that I'd like to talk about here. Because again, if we go back to the old one, we can see books. I was able to create something very similar. I know it looks a little different because I haven't styled it exactly yet, but like, I was able to create something kind of similar, right? And you're thinking like, this doesn't look super crazy. I mean, this is kind of okay. All right, I get what you're saying there. There's a couple things that I do want to talk about in relation to this. So, if we go into books, right? The first thing you can see is obviously like the card is different, right? Instead of it being separated, it's a card. And the thing is, that's really cool, because I was able to that was one of my first examples or experiences with actually utilizing classes a little bit deeper, like custom classes. So what I mean is, I went over here and I was like, in, what's a good example again? Tools. So we made this card. I started here with tools, right? And I know it has this like hover effect on it and stuff like that, but just stick with me. So it has like this little tiny little background, maybe a little box shadow, whatever you want there. I took that, and that was, let me click on it. So I made a card class, which I should probably name it like tool card or something like that. But I made it card, okay? And then I was able to just like take that class, and you can actually, I'm gonna throw in a little gold nugget here, because I had to figure this out, and I don't know if a lot of people know this. If you let's say this happens to you, because this happened to me numerous times because I didn't understand the workflow. Let's say you start styling on the ID level, okay? And you're like, shit, I need a custom class for this. And you can like, I know you can use the BIM tool or whatever if you have ACSS, but just like a quick way of, I don't know if that actually does what I guess it probably would. It might do the copying styles. But if you click up here, this is really hard to know that this is here if you didn't know this. You can click in the ID when you have the ID selected. You can click copy. Wait a second. Hang on a second. You gotta click on. Yeah. Okay, so I'm sorry. You have to click on the class. Like, you create the class. Okay, create the custom class. Okay, let's say it was card. Then you just click. You have it created. You have it selected. Then you click up here. Then you come down here, and like all of your styles though would be on the ID, because you're like used to Elementor or whatever, like me, and you're like, shit, I need a class for this because I'm going to use this a bunch more. You can click copy styles right here, and then you can click paste styles right here on that new one that you created, and it will go from not having any styles to having all the styles from the ID because you like pulled it in there. That might be a stupid tip that nobody knows, or that everybody knows, and I just didn't know. But like that's like, that was crazy, because I was like, shit, do I need to go back and redo all this now with this custom class? And then I would also recommend, because this has tripped me up a couple times, is make sure you take off the styles from the ID if you do that, because then now you're gonna be messing with the custom class, and then the ID is still gonna have stuff on it. I'm pretty sure like the ID supersedes it. Maybe don't quote me on that, but like it's probably just gonna cause issues. So you want to do it at the custom class level, as much as possible whenever you're doing that sort of stuff. So sorry for the little side tip there. But yeah. So I was talking about the card, and I made a class for card, and then I was like, kind of duplicating the layout basically just to get something on like the books page, for instance, right? And then if we go into the books page, I'm sorry, the books archive template here, then we have our actual, library and everything like that for our books. So if we go down here, we have this section. It looks, again, very similar, but if we go to like the book list and we go to card here, this is now book card, right? So with book card, I decided that I wanted to change it up a little bit, again, to kind of mimic that last style that I had. And I put the featured image here, and then I have the heading, which is the title. It's a basic text. I'm going to talk about this in a second, and I'm going to talk about this over here. So there is a difference here. The way that I structured this data in the back end, which I will go to real quick, because I think it's important to see. So in Jet Engine, there's obviously, and again, in ACF and stuff like that, there's a repeater field. And I was like, when I built this, I was thinking this is going to be kind of interesting because I think this is an example of one. Yeah. So if you're thinking about structuring book data, okay, you're going to need a title, which should just be probably the title of the book. However, every freaking book has a goddamn subtitle. So you have the title, and then I put a subtitle thing, and that's what you see there is the title and then the subtitle, right? And then almost not everyone, but like a lot of them have multiple authors. And I was like, I could do this a couple different ways. I mean, I could just have myself write them in there. That, I don't know, maybe that's a good idea. I actually think this is actually, if you were thinking like a good, better, best, not even good, it would just be like baseline. Baseline would be like a text field where you could just write in, or like even like a WYSIWYG or something where you could literally just write in like W Chan Kim and then Renee Maborngi. I don't know how to pronounce her name, but you know what I mean? Like that would be like more just like a field like this. Okay. For authors, we're talking about specifically what field type we should use for this. This would be like minimum viable product. Really annoying that you'd have to like make sure you're kind of spelling everything correctly, but like it wouldn't be good. Okay. It just wouldn't be good because if you have multiple authors, then the problem you're going to run up against is like, if you want to sort or deal with the data whatsoever, you can't do it because you're just going to have a field that says all four of these things or five of the, like, you know what I'm saying? Like their first name, last name, whatever. You're going to have it all in there. It's not sortable. It's just not sortable because each one of these authors, even though they are an author, they're the authors of that book. They're individual authors. Okay. So you can't do it like that. So my second thought was, and I might change this because like I said, I just thought of a better way. The second thought was to do a repeater. So what that means is if you added a new book here, or if you just edit this one, you have a first name and a last name. So I created a author's like field that is a repeater, and then within that repeater there's a first name and there's a last name. So I did I put the first name in the first one, last name and last name. Again, still not perfect in my opinion because you still might misspell some stuff or whatever, and you still might, that's not exactly perfect, but you do at least have like a first name and a last name that you could use that data somehow. Now, I will say repeaters are sometimes a bitch to deal with. So I'll talk about that in a second, but that's the point is you want the data to be preserved in a way. I don't know if sanitized is the right way. I don't think that's the right word, but point is like you want it to be accessible, to be able to, get to the last name, get to the first name or whatever and see all that. Because here's my thought. Okay. I know that's some background there. Here's the thought though. The thought is to have, from the very beginning, I had this thought, I'm going to have a big list of books, and maybe nobody will care to filter by author, but I want to give them the opportunity to filter by author. So what I want to do, and what I will end up figuring out a way to do, because I just haven't messed with this filter yet, is I have all of these authors, right? I've got all these authors. The problem that you're going to run into is that you have first names, you have last names, right? You have first names, last names in these repeaters. And like the last name, let's just use the last name. The last name is its own variable. So you could get to this last name somehow, some way, right? So the idea would be to have a checkbox field almost of all of the authors. And this is on the front end. So you'd have a checkbox like this, but it'd be under filter by author. And all of it would be like, Goggins, Lencioni, Hill, whatever, right? And it would have all of those. And then if you wanted to see all of the books in this list by Goggins, that Goggins was an author of, doesn't just have to be him, but an author of, that's important because before that first option, we would have just had it all in one field. All of the ones that Goggins is an author of, you click Goggins, and then just like, how the other thing worked with the type and all that, it only shows that. It filters that thing. So this is like a complex filtering thing here because there's multiple things that you could try here. Another random idea, again, not great one, would be to literally put every author as its own, like make the authors thing just a checkbox field, and then have every author be one of the checkbox options. You could even pull that maybe from like a glossary or something in Jet Engine. I don't like that approach either because then I'm like constantly messing with authors. Honestly, what actually might be the best, still working it out in my head, like I said, because this is my point though. Is there's another piece to this too, like displaying it, but I'll get to that in a second with the repeater piece. The other thing you could probably do is like make an author's custom post type or a custom, or maybe even like a CCT, custom content type, and then just put all the authors in there and then relate author. This would probably be the best way, but it's probably overkill for this situation. You relate the authors to the books, to the titles, and then you can just display it like that, which I'm going to be doing all over this website with other data, but I don't think I need to do it with authors. So anyway, until this list gets to like 1,000 books, it's not necessary. So my point is though, I'm just giving you ideas. Okay. And if you want to dive in deeper, we can dive in deeper on any of that stuff at some point, but I'm just giving you ideas. So let's go back to the repeater thing though, because that's currently how it's implemented. What I've done is I have a block down here, and I got to do it here, right? So I have a block within this block, this bigger block. I have a block here. It's called authors, or block authors, and then I have just some basic text that says authors, because this is really annoying. Because when you are displaying repeater values, okay, so we have an authors field in there, and it's a repeater, and we have first name and last name. When you are displaying that, there probably is a way to actually concatenate those two values that I just haven't figured out yet. But if you don't go that extra mile and you don't do that right now, it's literally like there's a div here. Okay. I have a div, and then that div is the query. And then and this is actually a really important tidbit, because if you do mess with repeaters in Jet Engine, I was confused because the way that Elementor it does it differently in Elementor. The repeater is in the query. It's not its own element like it is in Elementor. You can query based off of the repeater in Bricks here. So if I'm going to try to say this, so maybe like Google like picks it up. If in the transcript, if you are searching for how to use a Jet Engine repeater field in Bricks, you have to use the query loop, because there is no dynamic repeater element. Okay. So that's my point, is like you have to do it this way. And I didn't know that until this morning, and then I figured it out. So it's a div, and then there's first name, and then it's basic text, two basic texts as a flex like horizontal row, first name and last name. And then those things just stack kind of on each other, kind of as you go down there. But yeah, so it's literally, just think of it as like it's going through the loop on the ideal team player. Or actually, let's use one that actually has multiple authors right here. So when it gets to Blue Ocean Strategy, it's going through that. And this, I know I'm all over the place here, but there's a lot of shit here that I need to like actually say better, like educate better and kind of clean it up a little bit. But this card is a query. Okay. The whole card is a query. There is a query within the query. Okay. This is a query down here, this author's div, this little thing here. And then this is also a query. The nested query thing is like the biggest thing that sets you apart. Like when you learn custom post types and custom fields, if you're a WordPress developer and you don't know that, I would seriously consider getting into that if your goals are to build big and complex websites at all, or just make your life a lot easier. I would really consider looking at all that, or ask me, and I'll make videos and explain. But custom post types and custom fields are like, the first thing that you kind of learn when you dive in a little bit deeper to WordPress. When you realize that when you have a tool, because I couldn't do this in Elementor in the stuff that I used, and then this is the exact reason I had to get Jet Engine. When you realize that you can nest queries within other queries, once you've gotten to that point, it's like a whole new thing, because now it opens up so many more possibilities, because it's not just I need a list of books. It's I need a list of books within a list of terms that's all generated dynamically. Like you need, and I'm going to do this on other pages, but each one of these books, let's say, had a category. It kind of does have a category, but let's say you want to display it dynamically like that. So you have productivity, business, technical, or something. Each one of those is in one of those categories. So you query the terms, you query those categories, and then that's one like query. And then within each one of those, within each one of those cards, like this example, is the actual books, or within each one of those sections is the actual books. Really hard to describe, but hopefully this is an example. I'm just trying to give you more context. Is like, you have a big query, in this case in the form of a card here, that's like, querying all these different cards. But then while it's doing that, it's querying the authors for that specific one, is for that specific post in that card as well. It's just awesome. Just really gives you the opportunity to do a lot more things. So that's that. Is there anything else we need to talk about with this repeater thing real quick? Very difficult. Again, probably a way to do this, just haven't done it. Very difficult to get repeaters to show up nice. Maybe I can give you an example over here. I think there's a couple with 3 that would show me. Come on. Maybe not. Right here. There you go. So yes, right? So you see how this is like this? If you're an Elementor and you're trying to do this repeater thing, you're going to be annoyed because you don't have nearly as much control over stuff. But the reason that this is doing this is because this is the same concept, but obviously a different implementation because it's a different tool. This is the first name. This is a first name. This is a first name. And you can put a delimiter in, which is nice. But I decided to just go a different route right now because it's just whatever, it's easier. But like these are first names, right? And these are last names. You're thinking, why the hell isn't the first name like the last name following the first name and it's just writing it out? Well, the reason is you don't see this in Elementor. You don't see this until you look at the code and you're like, wow, this is a mess. But you don't see this in Elementor. But I had to build it. This is why this is like so educational too, if you actually want to continue to evolve in this space. You don't see it over there until you have to build it yourself over here. This keeps moving me up here. I just want to show you this stuff down here because this is an example. Like, you don't see that there is a div here. You have to put the div, you have to create the div, then you have to query that, you have to use that div as the query. Then you have to put in the first name and the last name, basic text fields. Again, there's probably a way to concatenate them, but this is version 1, right? Then you have to put first and last name as text fields. And now you have 2 elements in there, right? So let me go back to this because it's easy to explain now. This is an element. This is another element. And unless you can somehow, like with maybe a different property like inline or something, but at least with flex, it's like you're not going to be able to do that. Like you're going to have to like first name, then last name. And that's like, those are 2 separate things. And then you need to put another text element and then another text element. Maybe like even grid. I don't even know. I have to play around with it more. But my point is that you're not going to know that's happening in Elementor because they don't give you enough, customization and enough control over that. With bricks, I will be able to figure out a solution if I really want to make that happen. Right now, this is fine for me, but I will be able to figure out a solution. So I'm just trying to, again, explain to you guys what I've experienced and what I'm experiencing now and why, to me, this is like way, way better as far as like the amount of control that I have, the amount of customization that I can do. But if you're not interested in that and you don't want to learn all the terminology of like CSS and proper HTML and all that sort of stuff, do whatever you want. But this is legit. That's why the title of this video is Bricks is Legit. So yeah, I want to show you at least one more thing, and then if anybody has any questions, we'll answer some questions. But if not, that's totally fine. Maybe I can do some work. Maybe we'll just hop off because I've already been on it for an hour and a half. No, holy cow! All right, so let's talk about this real quick. Last thing, because I also did this, and this is pretty straightforward, but it's not as straightforward as I would like it to be. It's not bad, but it's a little weird still. So you see all these buttons over here on the right? So all of them say like read my review, view on Amazon, view on Audible. Again, might change, but the top one is just to click to that to go to like the single. So ultimately, I have not read all these books, but as I read them, I'm going to click on like read. You can click on read my review. It'll go to the single, and it will say, it will have probably information in there about like what my thoughts are on the book. Okay, all right. So that's pretty standard, right? That's like the post link. So if we click on that first button, then we can see over here that says dynamic data and post URL. Cool. Next one. view on Amazon. So that's dynamic data. And I have a custom field in these books called Amazon affiliate link. And then I have one on Audible called Audible affiliate link. Okay. Not difficult. That is not difficult. We're making buttons. We're making dynamic links. We're opening them in a new tab if they go to a different URL. Perfect. Okay. Here's the thing though. Let's go over here and let's scroll down to the one that I know that there's the case. Okay. There's a couple. 100 true fans, right? When I'm gathering all this data, I'm gathering covers, I'm gathering titles, subtitles, authors, all this sort of stuff. I find that 100 True Fans doesn't have a Audible link, but I want to include Audible links on as many as I can. Well, shit. 100 True Fans doesn't have an Audible link. So what am I going to do? Well, I'm either going to leave that button there and it's not going to go anywhere, or I'm going to hide it dynamically using conditions. Now, this is something that's awesome because I don't know if Elementor has this at this point either. I don't think it did. I was using the Jet Engine dynamic visibility for this, but if you go into here, we go into our card and we're talking about these buttons here. Let's talk about Audible. This Audible button, right? So what do we want to do before we even touch the conditions? What do we want to do? We want to say if there is nothing in the Audible custom field, because we haven't put a link in there. If there's nothing in that custom field, how do we want that button to not show up because it's useless, right? So there's a button up here. When you click on this button in this element here or whatever, there's a conditions button or tab or whatever up here. This I would like to be a little bit more straightforward, but it's fine where it's at. So there's a bunch of different things you can do. You see that? Yeah, cool. Okay, so dynamic data is the one we're going to want, but you could do like even operating and everything like that. Hey, thank you very much. Look at that. Nice. Thank you, Dobber. I'm maybe dyslexic there. Thank you. Appreciate that, brother. So dynamic data, right? So if you go to dynamic data here, you can do like different stuff. We're going to talk about dynamic data right now. And then you can put in that field. So the Audible affiliate link. So it's saying we're getting dynamic data. We're checking against whatever's in that field. And then there's different conditions basically comparisons, I guess, maybe that you could do. So if it's like either if that field contains, does not contain, is equal to, is not equal to, greater and less than, like all these different things, right? So when I looked at this, I was like, this is, you have to be, this isn't just jump out at you if you don't exactly know. But once you see it, it's like, okay, that's fine. The first, I want to say two things actually about this specific part of the UI. The first thing is I don't really like how you can't set it to show or hide seemingly. It just looks like it's show is the only thing you can do here. You can't add more conditions, and can you do or? If you can't do or, that's concerning, right? Would that be concerning? I feel like that might be concerning if you can't write or. I don't know. I'd have to look into that more, but I feel like you should probably be able to do or, but whatever. So let's just focus on one condition for now for today. So dynamic data and the affiliate link. This is not going to pop out at you. I wanted it to be like doesn't exist or is not there or something. Like you shouldn't have to. I don't feel comfortable having an empty field here. I don't feel comfortable with that. But the way that you have to do it, seemingly for now, is Audible affiliate link does not equal nothing. So what that does for you, what that means is because it's kind of a double negative, it's really confusing. It should just be like, it should just automatically do that for you and have a thing that says like doesn't exist or something. I don't know, but whatever. My point is that if there is nothing, if the affiliate link custom field does not equal nothing, then it's not going to show it. See, there's too many negatives there. And the fact that you can't do show or hide and the fact that there isn't like a way to do it without having something written there is really confusing. But put all that aside because we're willing to work through a little bit of weird semantic logic if the thing actually works, which it does. So what I did is I put Audible affiliate link does not equal nothing. And then if there is nothing in those Audible affiliate links in the fields in the custom post type, then it will not show that button. And then similarly, you can do the same thing for the Amazon affiliate link. You just change the dynamic content there. The next thing that I would probably do potentially is see if there's a way to go into like read my review here and see if there's a way to like say if there's no if there's no data in, I don't know how I did that. I don't think I did it in the editor. But one cool way would be like if you were going to write that review, there's different ways to do this, but if you were going to write that review inside the post content of the WordPress editor piece, if you had that turned on for that custom post type and you were going to write in there, it'd be really cool if you could say, compared to like the post, see, it doesn't have it here. It should be like post content or something like that. If it's in post content, then don't show it if there's nothing in there. That would be kind of cool. Other ways to do it, like I said, I'll probably end up hiding those buttons because I don't really have a lot of that data yet. But just again, playing around with cool things. That's the type of shit though that we're talking about. Can the block editor do that? Is an actual question, not being condescending. I'm just wondering, like all of these things that I've shown you, how not only can it do it, because obviously the thing can somehow maybe do some of it because this is built on top of WordPress and that framework, that core of WordPress. But I'm just wondering, can it do that stuff and can it do it that quickly? Because again, and I think that's pretty much all, unless you guys have something for me. But here's the thing, okay? Let's just, if you've been here the whole time, thank you so much. I'm going to do this every week, so hopefully, mark it on your calendar, and subscribe and everything like that. But here's the thing, okay? I'm going to try to leave you with this, wrap it up here after I get a swig. Here's the thing. If you watch any of this, or if you watch like bits and pieces and you like saw what I'm doing, or if you look at this in the future, like the website and everything like that, all of that stuff was not, I know I didn't like do anything there. I was kind of like showing you like what I had done. Once you know how to do that stuff, it is not hard to do. Okay. I feel from everything that I've seen about full site editing and everything like that, currently, maybe not in the future, but currently, even if you know how to do it, it takes a long time. It takes like a lot of effort, a lot of like weirdness and everything like that, which makes sense because it's new. But I'm saying that like, I'm not going to jump into that right now because I don't know. What if like I do all that work now, I learn all that work now, and then the plan changes? At least with bricks, the CMS is still intact and everything like that. And if I needed to move, I could like just develop a different workflow again, but I don't think bricks is going to go anywhere. So in the meantime, I could handle, I could like still use it. Those are just my thoughts. Again, I'd love to have a conversation with literally anybody that wants to talk about this. So that's kind of my process there. But all of those little things that I did through here, that were so easy, like maybe you have to figure out how to do them in your head or like via Google, but after you have them, it's just like, I know exactly what I'm doing. Bang, bang, bang here. I know exactly how everything's working. I'm in an environment where like my builder is reflecting what I would actually see on the DOM. I mean, you're not going to get away from the DOM being the source of truth in a way. Like you're not going to get away from the DOM being what's actually how the browser is actually displaying the stuff. So anything like Elementor or whatever, again, no qualms, do whatever you want. But I'm saying like anything like that, where like just from a debugging perspective, I can't like look at my sidebar and be like, okay, I kind of know how this is gonna react on the front end. Like I kind of know what I'm gonna be looking at on the front end, or I'm sorry, on the inspect when I inspect. Just from that level, it just seems like it's worth a look. You know what I mean? Like it's worth a look to like dabble in the bricks environment or something that does that. Again, I have no experience with Oxygen or Breakdance or Cornerstone or any of these other ones. I've literally used Beaver Builder for about 5 minutes in 2018, and I used Elementor, and that's pretty much it. I know Avada a little bit because I have colleagues that use that, but that's pretty much it. So I'm a bricks man. That's what I'm doing now. I really like it. It's been super good to me so far. I really like the stack and the 1-2 punch of bricks and Crock-A-Block when you need it. I have not decided if I'm going to move to. I'll tell you. I'll give you a couple more updates if you're still sticking around or care at all about this. And we'll also see how it evolves because I don't know what the answers to these are. But a couple things that I'm looking at, and maybe again I don't know, so maybe you guys can give me some insight. Is I'm looking into how to expand the stack a little bit better because I am retooling. Like I said, I was using Elementor and I layered on NitroPack, and I never had a problem with NitroPack. I know people vehemently hate that though. It helped with Elementor. I don't want to continue to use it though, because I did see a little bit of problems. So I know WP Rocket's a big one. I know Perf Matters is a big one. I hear a lot of things about Perf Matters. So I think that bricks, and then so you need a page builder, or you need something, right? And then you need something to handle. You need bricks or core, or I'm sorry, you need page builder or core, and then you need something to handle custom post types. I should make a little video on this because I feel like this could be really cool, just to kind of give people a framework to operate from. I haven't really seen one that talks about it like this. My point is, like, when you're building a stack, like the pieces that you kind of you need something to build, either core, you can start there, or you need a page builder, right? Then you need generally something to manage the custom post types and custom fields, which I don't know if core is ever planning on baking that in, if they're already doing that, whatever, but I'm going to assume you need something else. So then your options become ACF Pro, Metabox. There's some free one, I think, that I don't know the name of. And then I'm sure there's a bunch of like other ones that I don't know of, because I'm sure there used to be like custom post type UI, but you don't need that anymore because ACF has it. Most of these ones probably can build custom post type and the fields. So you need either ACF, Metabox, or Crocoblock. Jet Engine does it. So I kept Jet Engine, but I was thinking about moving to ACF. I don't think I'll do that. I don't see the big difference. I think keeping it all in the family, so to speak, in the Crocoblock probably the best way to do it. But then, okay, so now you have page builder, you have way to handle those custom post types and everything. Well, what do you need next? Well, honest to God, if you start doing that stuff, you're probably going to need this is why I love Crocoblock, because it eliminates so many other things. Like, you might need these facets, these filters. Where are you going to go there? If you don't have Crocoblock, you might have to go to WP Grid Builder. If you need to start editing, I don't know. That's the big one. If you need like Ajax search, Bricks doesn't have that built in right now. It's going to have it, but like Jet Engine has that. So it's like, okay, so that's an idea there. But my point is, you're going to need to add some other things. But the next thing you're going to need to add, honestly, at some point, probably even with Bricks and this stuff, is you're probably going to need to add some sort of like performance site optimization software. And to me, the only thing that was working for me in the past was that Nitro Pack, but I don't think I'll be moving forward with that because I don't necessarily need it in this environment anymore. So then you look at WP Rocket, or you look at Perf Matters, or you look at like a crazy amalgamation of free tools, like the fastest cache with the cheat on or something, and auto optimization. They probably work fine. Okay, I'm just saying, like, I'd rather just pay for one thing, bang, 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 be all end all thing, rather than like try to configure 8 things to work together. That's just my personal opinion. Do what you want. But that's the next thing that you would probably look at. Obviously, you need security to some extent. I don't even really know if you necessarily need it in a plugin format. I'm not a security expert. Don't take anything, as security advice. But we'll get to that point too. I was using, at one point it was iThemes, then it was Solid Security. So, we got to continue to manifest that. But we have a lot of stuff going on the grid pane actual server side. So a lot of things going on there with security. I'm just running through this, like I said, because I think that these things are like, this would be like a little quick guide to kind of starting up and kind of just getting your feet wet, and you're getting your first stack settled in a way, right? You might need, again, things like, obviously you need an SEO plugin, right? So you're going to go Yoast, or you're going to go Rank Math. I don't know. I'll stop there because I don't really, it's going to get crazier and crazier the more you go, because you could ask about all these different things you might want to do and everything like that. You need a shop plugin, WooCommerce or SureCart. So my point is, the reason I'm doing that exercise in my head is because I don't know all the answers for myself yet. I have some pieces picked out, obviously, but I want to try to build that as well. And I'm going to share that with you guys. It'll be on the website. It'll be throughout the videos. And you guys tell me what you want to see. So listen, I appreciate you guys talking, or I appreciate you listening to me talk. And I've had a lot of fun here kind of explaining all these different things that we have going on here and that we're working on. I hope that you if you haven't given Bricks a try yet, I hope you take a look at it. There is no affiliate program or anything like that. I'm not trying to shill Bricks on you, but I would take a look at it. And and I'm going to qualify that though. If you are unhappy with Elementor bloat, or if you're unhappy with limitations in any builder that you have or whatever, take a look at Bricks. It might not be the one for you, but it might be. And just and really, before you even do that though, honest to God, ask yourself the question and answer it truthfully, what you want to do in the web design and development space. If you want to be the developer, I really would highly recommend that you start consuming really good development content. I'll shout out Kevin Geary because he's taught me a lot, like a lot of good stuff there. It's really good fundamental shit. So I would, if you want to go that route, you need to know this stuff. Like you can't, don't kid yourself there. If you want to go that route, you need to know that stuff. If you don't want to go that route, then you have to find somebody that knows that stuff. Okay. We're going to talk a lot about this stuff on this channel, like not just technical, but also the way that it applies to business and the way that like you have to, it implies just your state of mind when you're handling all this stuff. It's like, you shouldn't want to be a fly by night situation. If you're watching these videos, if you're watching content on YouTube, I mean, like, you know, I don't know. So Bricks is the king. Look at that. I'm going to show that. Sick. Bricks is dope. Yeah. Like I said, Bricks is legit. It's solid. I appreciate you guys checking out the content. Like I said, if you want to check out more, we got some more content, some more things coming. Let me know what you want. Subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm doing this every Thursday at 11 a.m. If I am not on, harass me in either the comments of my videos or on Twitter or on Facebook or whatever, and tell me, Mark, you need to get your ass online and get live because this was the first of many that we're doing this year. So we're gonna try every week. That'd be sick. But all right, that's it, guys. I'm gonna be done talking. I got some other things to do. Thank you so much, seriously, for checking out the stream. And let me know if you have any thoughts, ideas, questions, insights. More than happy to chat. So thank you so much. I will talk to you guys in the next one.